We have an important guest coming on now. Catherine Burblesing is the headmistress of Michaela Community School in Wembley, in the heart of London. And she's been fighting the good fight for academies and schools in general in the UK for a long time now. And she's leading a march, quite literally at the moment, against the schools bill. And she joins us now. Catherine Burblesing, thank you very much for coming on. How are you?
Hi there. I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm as good as can be, all things considered. Before we get to what you're marching against or why you're becoming active in this fight, what is the schools bill?
Well, it's the well-being in schools bill actually, and it's Bridget Phillipson, our education secretary, has put it forward, and it's got lots of bits to it that have upset all kinds of people, but it's upset me as a school leader and the freedoms that it will be taking away from our children and from our schools. And I mean, to give you an example, they're going to stop us from branding more than 3 items of uniform, which
Right.
which I mean might seem a bit silly that the central government should be getting involved in how many pieces of uniform we are able to brand. And for your listeners, they might think, oh, well, what difference, what difference does it make? You have 3 pieces or 5 pieces. We've got 5 pieces of uniform that are branded, which I would say is the minimum for any school. And some schools need to have more. And I think uniform is really important for a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. It brings the children together. It makes sure that they're not wearing other, fancy clothes like Gucci and so on. They're just wearing one uniform, no matter how rich or poor they are. And they all look the same. When the England football team goes out to play, they're wearing they're wearing the same shirt so that they
Right.
can pass to each other.
So,
There's
so
just
one
a
of the
sense of belonging.
consequences, one of the
What's that?
consequences is that it prevents bullying and stuff like that. But the idea is that it's identity, isn't it? I'm wearing my uniform. I identify as a priest, so people can see that I'm a Christian priest by knowing what I'm wearing. When people
Exactly.
see your kids with Michaela on, they know that those kids are a part of the Michaela community, and those kids feel a part of something greater than themselves. That's important. But this
Yes.
is just one of many issues where it all comes down to what you've termed statism, isn't it? Because your school is an academy, so you have some autonomy, and I understand they're saying that the academies will now have to follow the national curriculum, which is a change from how it was before. Teachers will have to have a certain qualification, which you and I would know as QTS, but it's a nanny statism of saying you must do things this way, that way, this way, rather than letting you get on with the job as the expert in the field.
Yeah. So, I mean, I very much believe in state schools. We are a state school, and I understand that the government needs to do some things. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a government telling us certain things. I do find it very odd that they're suddenly going to introduce a particular curriculum that we've got to follow. And they haven't actually told us what the curriculum is. So what the bill is doing is it's telling us all, you must follow this curriculum, but they haven't actually decided what that curriculum is. I also know that just word on the street, people I know, the curriculum review body has been discussing whether or not they should take Shakespeare off the curriculum. So it's got that bad in terms of what kids should be taught. I feel very strongly that all our children should learn some Shakespeare. I'm not saying we should only teach Shakespeare, and I used to think that Shakespeare was untouchable, that yes, people might campaign against dead white men, but Shakespeare was one dead white man they weren't going to touch. But apparently not. He is certainly up for discussion at the moment. So there's that worry. The teaching certificate that you're talking about. So private schools in this country have never had to have their teachers are allowed to teach without a teaching certificate, and they've taught very well for decades, centuries, and everybody wants to send their child to a private school, and yet the state schools are forced to send teachers down this very bureaucratic route, and I have an economics teacher, for instance, a young guy, he's 22, he's just out of university, very much enjoying the teaching he's doing for us. He's very clear that had he had to get a teaching certificate stamp, there's no way that he would have come to teach for us. His plan is to teach for us for some years, and then he's going to go into the city and get a job where he's going to be
Yeah.
paid more money. Well, good for him. He's giving us some of his talent for some years before he goes off. Well, great. Now, this route for recruitment of teachers is going to be closed off for us. And the fact is that recruitment is a huge problem for head teachers. It's hard enough finding teachers as it is, let alone having one of those routes shut down for us. And then people say, yes, but what about safeguarding? Look, you learn that stuff at the school that you're learning how to teach. The fact is that he's here. He's learned everything he needs to learn. We've taught him how to teach. We've taught him all the issues around safeguarding and so on. So,
well, even worse than that, Catherine, I had to, and I know you speak on this, I had to unlearn everything I learned in my teacher training when I got into a good school finally. So
yes.
It's not actually helpful for safeguarding, is it?
No, indeed. So the fact is that she's meant to be helping us. The big problems for schools, behavior and recruitment. Those are the two massive problems that there are at the moment. The recruitment, well, we're actually going to have more trouble given this schools bill. And then in terms of behavior, so uniform plays a huge part in helping children behave. Whenever I give advice to other schools on how to improve their behavior, I tell them that what they need to do is get to be more strict about uniforms. So people call it broken windows theory. You look after the pennies and the pounds take care of themselves. You look after the small details of the tie. Yeah, go on.
You sweat the small stuff, you never get to the big stuff.
Exactly, sweating the small stuff. And if you care about the ties being long, if you care about the shirts being tucked in, if you care about the kids wearing trousers properly, but the only way you can do that is if you have a branded trouser and if you have a branded tie. So we have our little leaf on the tie that's placed in such a way so that the tie, the teacher will know on site whether or not the tie is too short, right? Because they like to make their ties short and fat. We want the ties long and looking smart. And so if you can see the leaf, you know the tie is at the right length and the child won't get into trouble. You need these items to be branded in order for it to be practical and to keep them safe. And I say keep them safe. It's fascinating. Just yesterday, out on the street, one of the schools nearby, there was a big fight outside with a whole load of kids. And our teachers were outside and they were texting the group of teachers here. And I was looking at the texts. And in fact, if I just read you, it tells you exactly why. So our bag has the leaf of you can tell our kids from far off, because of the bag, because of the branded bag. And it says, one of the teachers says, think there's about to be a big fight up on Bridge Road. Oh, one other one says happening now. Another one says happening now. Another one from inside says, do you need support? They say, no, we're heading there. It's okay. One of them says, none of ours are involved from the look of things, from the 7th floor. She can look out from the 7th floor and see our kids are not involved. Another one says, none of our kids. Another one actually says, I can't spot any of our backpacks, right? So that backpack literally is keeping them safe because we can see them. Bridget Phillipson's going to prevent us from keeping our children safe. It's crazy. It's just.
It is. And I don't want to get partisan because I don't particularly think Conservatives or Labour are very good at education at the moment. But the last government installed a behaviour czar, a mutual friend of ours, Tom Bennett, who said a lot of this stuff. He said uniforms are important for behaviour. Behaviour is important because you can't teach a good curriculum if you don't have good behaviour. Like we have all this ironed out from the government. So is this a case of the new education secretary just disregarding what's gone before her and wanting to make her own mark? Or is there a consultation process with head teachers like yourselves? Are you part of the conversation, or is it just everything that's gone before is gone now?
Thank you for watching my Common Sense Crusade. If you'd like to watch the whole show, you can subscribe to lotuseaters.com for as little as £5 per month, and then you get access to a bank of content as well. My show is 3 p.m. every Thursday. See you there. Deusfault.